Okay, so this is gonna be the update video. Hold on. YouTube update, because I have not made one of them in a long time, I feel like. So, what have I been doing? I think I mentioned this in one of my videos earlier that I have not been posting as much. Oh no, that was the TikTok. Never mind. Anyway, I've not been posting as much because I was working on a focal for my Patreon. If you are not familiar, on my Patreon, I do what I call a focal, which is a focus on a particular area of study, generally spiritual, but some of them have been like herbal before, and I will be doing an herbal focal in the future. The most recent focal was specifically on inner knowing, the process of knowing yourself, of prioritizing that, like ways to get in touch with your own energy. And the reason I did this is because I was asked on my Patreon if I could do a focal about divination and cover the foundation, the sort of like a beginner's intro to divination, different types of divination. And I'm like, yeah, sure, bet, let's do that. And then as I started to make that focal, I realized I don't really feel like I can talk about divination if I'm not sure that my audience has actually done more intuitive work. And intuitive work starts with yourself. Like, you have to be able to listen to your inner voice, to understand what your intuition is like for you, maybe to know what kind of clairsenses you have, like to develop those. So I just kind of felt like skipping ahead to start talking about divination without talking about inner knowing and intuition first. So that was the last focal that ran. It ended on the 5th. And for those of you who are in my Patreon, who have access to that focal, there are a couple of like bonus bits that I'm going to be adding to it later on, but we're going to move into the divination focal next month, do that, then I'm going to go back to the focal, add some bonus content for those of you who were in that, who were interested in that. Those are accessible to all of my patrons. If subscribing and being a monthly supporter to my Patreon is not something that you can do, but you do want to have access to the focals, at some point in the future, I will be releasing the focals to my Gumroad as just a course that's a standalone course that you can download. So keep an eye out for that. I'm going to put the link below so you can bookmark it. I already currently have previous focals. For instance, there was a lunar quantum jumping manifestation course, which is a general sort of holistic binding together of quantum physics, manifestation basics and fundamentals, and a lunar ritual practice that ties all together into a baseline spiritual practice that helps you understand cycles of manifestation and empowers you to use them however you want, right? We did that one. There was also a dream work course called Oneironautics 101. Again, an introductory course all about the different layers of sleep, states akin to sleep, meditation, liminal dreaming, lucid dreaming. We covered all of that. So if you were not there for that and you join the Patreon, you will get access to all of that. Like, everything that I've ever done is accessible that way. But if you would just like that one tidbit, like if that's the one thing that's very interesting to you, again, the link to my Gumroad is below, and you can just have that as an on-demand course for you to do whatever you want to do, when you want to do it, go for it. The benefit, though, to being a Patreon patron and being present for the focals is twofold. One, if I'm doing a focal and you are a patron, if you have any questions for it at the time, you can reach out to me and ask me, right? Like, do you need particular assistance? Do you want me to talk more about one of the points to help you through one of the activities? Whatever it is, you can do that. And you also get, depending on the tier you're at, there's a tier called, I think correct me if I'm wrong, you'll see it's highlighted on my Patreon. The link is also down below. But I think it's the helpful support tier. It might be the empowering support tier. In fact, I think it is. But if you are in that tier or up, you also get a free service every time I do a focal. So let's say I'm going to do a focal on herbal remedies, right? if you have been a patron from the beginning of that focal to the end of that focal, once that focal is done, you can go, hey, can I have a free service? Can I have a free consult? Can I whatever it is? And the answer is yes. So that's a really cool thing that I'm doing on my Patreon. But anyway, back to this being an update. I just finished the inner mirror, which is what that focal is called, because it's about reflecting on your inner self. Had a lot of fun with that one. There were some live calls and lots of activities, and just things for you to keep in your pocket as you move through life. And like I said, I'm going to start doing the divination focal next month. I am going to be releasing some affirmations, some sound files coming up in the next week. And there are going to be more videos like this on this channel. So the reason that there haven't been for a long time is because, as I've mentioned in previous updates, at the end of 22, I left the United States, and for the subsequent year, was just dealing with getting settled somewhere. Oh my God. Super, super challenging having to look at like different places to be and figuring out if they were going to be good for me. The thing is, when what you do is recording quiet, soothing, or hypnotic audio, you need your environment to be very, very quiet. What the average person thinks of as quiet or like a relaxing neighborhood is not good for me. Cue a dog barking. So anyway, it's very hard for me to find a place to be because when you are touring somewhere, it's hard to know what the noise levels are going to be throughout the day and throughout the week, you know? So that has been really challenging. Last year, this time, I was in a very cute place that I ostensibly liked at first glance, but that quickly became a place that I absolutely despised. And one of the reasons it was so horrible was because the house next to it, they had like 4 stories, and the 4th story was a roost, and they had like 4 roosters. And I know a lot of people love chickens. I find it hard to love roosters. Again, my job and my peace has a lot to do with it being quiet, and this is my naivete, but I thought that roosters crowed at dawn. That is a general perception of them in the public, in the media. That is not true. Roosters start crowing at about 4 to 4:30, and then they will keep crowing like every 30 to 45 minutes after that until daybreak and then throughout the morning. And they will also crow at any time the light changes, meaning that if it becomes cloudy, if it's going to rain, they start crowing. Whether it's because it's triggering the light change, like that's really how they're interpreting like dawn and dusk, or because, you know, maybe a thunderstorm is a danger to their girls and they want to let them know, whatever it is, every time it becomes cloudy, which to me is a very peaceful time and otherwise would actually become more quiet, just because like birds become more quiet, people maybe if it's raining, people stay inside. They were loud. And then they start crowing again as the sun sets. So there was almost no time that I could actually record. And that is deal-with-able if I'm recording audio because it's very low stakes. Like I could just pause and like wait for a noise to pass and continue. When you're recording a video and you have to pause every like 2 to 3 minutes, it's just a no-go. It's just a no-go. So that is also why I have not been making any ASMR videos. Although what I would say is that in the future, as I go back to recording ASMR content, most of that content is going to be of a benefit to my patrons. And that is because it's actually a lot harder to make ASMR content than you think if you don't make it. Again, it requires a lot of quiet and editing, and you really need the sound to be real good, you know? Like it's got to be clean and warm and nice. So it's work. It is work, and I just appreciate sharing that with the people who make my work possible. So that's just something. Like some of the videos are going to be on YouTube, but the far bulk of it is going to be over on my Patreon, which I'm looking to expand the things that I put on there. there are a lot of things in the work. There's some art in the work. There are, yeah, I don't want to talk about that too much, but I am really excited. I feel like I've touched on the, as you can see, I am in a space. I like this house that I am in. There was question as to whether I would have to move again, which I really didn't want to do just because there are cons to this cabin that I'm currently in. But at the end of the day, I think I'm gonna stick it out for a while. Not gonna speak on that too much, but I'm gonna stick it out for a while, and then I'm gonna look for a place that maybe is even more convenient and quiet. But I'm actually really happy to be somewhere that I'm finally comfortable, and I can finally work, I can finally film, I can finally record much, much more easily, because I have been making my affirmation files and things like that, but you all have not seen me as much on YouTube, like I said, just because it has been such a pain in the butt to find quiet. I am so happy it is quiet where I am. I am in the mountains. There's lots of beautiful pine trees. It is shady. There's birds singing all the time. And aside from the intermittent animals, that it's really just dogs, people's dogs. It's quiet. Other than that, it's actually really quiet, which is my favorite thing in the world. It is extremely important to me when it comes to regulating my nervous system that my environment be quiet. The other reason that it's super important that it be quiet is because I am going to be recording more meditations and sound healing. I have not publicly been posting them. I have been doing sound healings like in private, meditations and hypnosis, like sleep hypnosis, relaxation hypnosis in private. There are sessions, again, you can book. I'll just put all of my links below because I keep mentioning them, but you can book sessions like that. The problem had been, though, being able to guarantee that the space that I was offering to bring somebody into for a meditation, for a hypnosis session, was actually going to be quiet enough to be conducive for that. For my regular consults, I haven't had a problem, thank God, that all except for one, I think when I do my advice consults, my one-to-one natal chart, things like that, they have been quiet, although there was one where a dog started barking. I was like, I'm so sorry. But luckily we were just kind of discussing constructive things. It didn't need to be super quiet. But now that I am somewhere that it is quiet, that I have a relaxing atmosphere that I can share, that's the biggest thing, right? Like I have to have a wonderful atmosphere, and I love building that atmosphere and that space and being able to share it with other people. So that is something that you can book, and the benefit to doing that is that if I do sleep hypnosis or relaxational hypnosis, that is actually something that you take with you in your nervous system. So if you want to repeat book, you can, but it's really more about the fact that once I have shared that hypnotic method with you, you can keep it. You will keep it in your nervous system. That is like a memory change, a body memory change that is shared with you. So super beneficial. I started studying and making hypnosis 15, 16 years ago, because it actually was one of the methods that I ended up seeking when I was dealing with my own GAD and PTSD and all this kind of stuff. And I had a session with somebody and I liked it. I thought it was good, not bad at all, but I was like, oh, I could do this, right? Like I could learn this. And I think that this is a really great non-invasive method. Because also at the time, like I could not take any medication. Like there were doctors who were saying like, oh, we could medicate you, and it just does not work. It was so scary and nerve-wracking to go, what about the side effects? What about, whatever. So another thing that I want to say, this is actually a big thing, and I almost forgot it until now, just a minute ago, is that I've added a new session to my offerings. But the thing is, it's not something that I'm going to be offering all the time, so it's not available on my booking page, where I've got all my sessions, my natal chart sessions, one-to-ones, things like that. You're not going to find it there. I'm only running this from now until June 20th. And what is it? It is what I'm calling the clear heart reading. When we talk about heart, we talk about love. Is this a love reading? Not exactly. So what I think is really important here is that this reading is about you and the contents of your heart. I think that a lot of times in the spiritual divinatory spaces, there's an almost predatory focus on romance and other people in that romance, right? You have people doing tarot spreads. Is he cheating? Does he really like you? Is she the one? You know, things like that. And I think that I say that's predatory because it's so secondary to what you actually need to be focusing on, which is yourself. It is always yourself. Even if you're dealing with SP manifestation, if you know anything about it, if you were taught right about it, you know that it's actually fundamentally about you and who you are, who you perceive yourself to be, who you are embodying. Are you embodying being the person that attracts the person that you want, rather than are you pulling them to you, right? Like, that's not what it's about. So clear heart readings are what I'm offering because I've had people ask me about love issues and things like that. And I can talk about that from an advice perspective, but I felt like it would be more useful to have a session where we talk about the things and places in your chart that will cue you into what kinds of expressions and relationships are aligned for you and what that actually looks like. And also do some intuitive work around your heart and your sacral chakras to figure out, like, are you ready for things? What are your fears around things? How are you actually feeling? Because a lot of times we know that we may be wanting a relationship, but we feel that something is holding us back. Or you are attracting people, but you're really confused about feeling whether they are right for you or not. That every time you're meeting somebody or dealing with somebody, you're not sure if it's right for you. And you can also experience this in your career, especially for creatives. Because when we talk about love, a lot of times we're also going to be talking about Venus. And Venus doesn't just rule romance. Venus is all about everything that you attract and how, and who's attracted to you. And if you don't really know what's going on here, the specifics of it, there can be a lot of confusion. And in that confusion, there can just be a lot of wasted time and heartbreak. And that is what I want you to not have to deal with. The wasted time, the heartbreak, the confusion. So I want to give you these keys that you can put in your pocket so that you know as you move through life what is authentic for you, what isn't, and how you can embody that, because it's going to save you so much time and stress. So that is the clear heart reading. And if you want to do that, great. I'm running them until the 20th of June. They're available until the 20th of June. After that, I'm not sure, because it takes a specific thing that goes into the chart reading and everything that we're going to be doing for it. I have the time for it now. And because they're new on my page, as a service for me, they're also 25% off. That is a large percentage. Also, side note, if you are a patron from the Empowering Support tier and up, all of my services are always 20% off for you, because I love you. But yes, if you'd like to do a clear heart reading, you can reach out, you can leave a heart, you can say clear heart reading. You can also send me an email. I'm going to put that down below. And just say in the subject line, clear heart reading inquiry or something like that. And I can let you know the rest of the information. It is a 45-minute session over Zoom, clear heart reading. Check it out. I have some information about it on my Instagram. Also below, I'm just going to put all of my links below because I've had to mention different things, but I'm going to put that down below as well. So that has been the update. I hope I'm not forgetting anything. I feel like everything is up to speed. For those of you who follow me for ASMR, if you want more ASMR, if you want ASMR coming faster and more often, your best bet is to become a patron. Because when you support the things that I do, there are more things that get done. So that is everything. Peace. And just to finish off this video, thank you for watching. Here are some beautiful sounds. Now smile. Place your hand on your chest and take a deep breath. Peace.